Everybody, good morning, good morning. Welcome to our Wealth Wednesday call. Happy to have you all here. Another beautiful day. Get to work, making lives better using the program, using the system that we're in. We got such a great opportunity, and I hope you guys are excited about this springtime. People are coming out and wanting to get more involved. This last quarter, with the markets and the politics and the whole craziness that's happened made people want real estate more than they have the last several years. And as people are realizing that real estate's the way to go, that's where we can protect our wealth, create an income, and get the time freedom that we're after all at the same time, all with one thing. That's real estate. And so as you're out there spreading the word, telling people about the Renatus program, just know that it's the right place, it's the right time, it's the right message, and to continually ask who, ask for the order, ask who is interested in real estate, who's ever thought about it, and you're gonna have a lot more fun than you thought. You guys have something that can drastically change somebody's life, right? Not a lotion or a potion or a pill, but education and community and support. So it's a really exciting time. We did a lot of building for events on Monday and Tuesday, and today's going to be no different. I'm going to keep following up because tomorrow we got some workshops coming up. So speaking of that, as we hop into the calendar and take a look at what's going on, remember to clear your filters so you can see all the amazing events. Let's see if we can press this here a little bit. I had a few people texting me last night. Michael, are there any events this week? Of course. Of course there are events this week. Ohio Property Tour, awesome. Property Tour. Washington Property Tour. Denver Property Tour. Look at that. Saturday is full property tours. And for those of you who haven't been paying attention, or well, we actually took about a month off because of nationals and a few other things, but we have this Friday is the Renatus iOS live workshop with Jenna Hoover, and she is from the Real Flow headquarters, and they're the ones who designed Renatus iOS. So they're going to go over all the functionalities, how to find leads, how to contact them, how to make websites, how to use the whole system. So plan on attending that. That's Friday, 2 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 p.m. Central, and learn all things systems for the Renatus iOS program. I see a lot of people using it, and a lot of people have no idea what it is. So let's close the gap here. Jump into the Renatus iOS training with Jenna Hoover, Friday, 2 p.m. Mountain. Okay, in addition to that, tonight we got a couple big things happening. We got game night in Centerville, so this is a big one. Yep, that's who I need to. Oh, hold on. Let's get zoomed in correctly. There we go. Okay, so what did I just do? For those of you who are in Utah, there's you got a couple options, but I would recommend you go play Cash Flow if you haven't. I know that they're going to be covering the funding, how to fund your deals workshop, and the Clearfield team. But go to one of these. I know he puts game night is $50, but that's if you're on the ISN or you're on the OES, that fee is waived for you. So go to that 1312 West 75 North cash flow game. I met some people the other day and I was telling them about how we play the cash flow game, that I played it hundreds and hundreds of times. And all of a sudden I was the expert in the room. Everyone's looking at me like, wow, you are dedicated. Of course I am. One other thing I want to highlight here is the corporate national ATM that Richard's going to be doing. Starts on the 25th, and it's going to do 5 Fridays in a row. We're going to be going over how to take control of your business, generate leads, turn no's into yeses, increase your show-up ratio, control your follow-ups, overcome obstacles, how to find the money, get your cash in orders, master the basics, as well as some advanced stuff. A few of you have taken it in the past. If you have taken the ATM in the past and you recommend it to the new peeps who are here today, just jump in the chat and put fire. Put fire emoji or a yes if you've taken ATM before and it changed your game. It enhanced your conversations, your ability to close, find the money, all the things. So right now, if you register early, it's 149. What was he saying down here? And then here's Richard's phone number too, if you need to message him. Well, there's 2 phone numbers. There's this one as well. Okay, take ATM from Aaron. Gilda says ATM. Pat says ATM. Get into the ATM training. And Richard's doing it at a discount. When I first took it with him, he was charging $500. And now he's only doing 149. Bargain. So get after it. And then the other thing I want to make sure everyone knows about is the briefing with Mitch and Maley. That has been moved. New address. New address. That is going to be at the corporate headquarters. So if you are heading to South Jordan this Thursday, you will be heading in the wrong direction. You need to go north. You can go to Centerville headquarters, Renatus HQ. It's a fantastic stage for your guests to come and see the power of our system, who we are, what we do, why we're so successful, and why they should be joining us. So message everybody, make sure it's in all the platforms up to date, everybody knows, because for the longest time it's been in South Jordan. But now, as they're building out a new office, we're going to use Renatus Corporate for the next couple months. So any questions about that, let me know. But tomorrow, new address, be serious. Anthony, you know what? I'm going to put in a request right now. Putting in a request, making sure because yes, that would be great. Okay. The request has been made. And I'll say pretty pleased with a cherry on top. Oh goodness. Okay. GM everybody. GM. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. Also, for those of you who have a challenge with getting distracted easily, I want to recommend. Oh, it's not Facebook. But what I mean is there's a plugin. So that when you log into Facebook, instead of getting all the pizzazz and distractions and clicky clicky, whatever, you just get a quote. It's called Newsfeed Eradicator. Newsfeed Eradicator. They have it for Instagram, YouTube, a few other things, but essentially, so you stay focused. Why have you ever gone to Facebook and then sit there 5 seconds later you go, why am I here? Because something else popped up to try to grab your attention. So use Newsfeed Eradicator and stay focused. Let's see what Ralph says. He says, do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. Ooh, exciting. Adventure time. Okay, real quick, into the Renatus Team L8 Facebook group. If you are not a part of it, there is a resource there for you. And I'm going to put that in the chat. Maybe, yep. Team L8 Facebook. There we go. Some good resources here. So use that group. Also, if you guys are interested, Cosmo and I are going to be doing a workshop tomorrow afternoon, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Okay, and we're going to be talking about blocks, learning blocks, how your brain wants to learn, what blocks have showed up to prevent you from getting the goals, spending your time wisely, doing different things. It's been a great program. We do a couple times a year. So anyway, if you want to come to that, please register in this link here and let's have some fun together. Okay, a few other things in here. Anyway, fun stuff. We're on to something big here now. Last week when we were talking with Dane, we were running numbers, and then we ended with a request from Tamara about a deal that she was working on. So while we're waiting for Dane to join, probably goofing around with some pigs or something. And then, yeah, his wife is expecting in about 2 months we're gonna have a baby. So exciting times. Anyway, Tamara, if you want to let us know about the type of the deal you are working on and how you found it, and then we'll get Dane in here and we'll start talking about numbers and such. So anyway, GM, good morning.
GM. Good morning, everyone. So this deal is, hang on, I'll be in camera in a second, this is kind of my test model for what Dane's doing. So I am utilizing Bill Ome's class in teaming up with tenants. I had a tenant, I think, bring me this property, or someone in my market brought me this property, and it's a little brick house. It's really nothing fancy, 3-bedroom, 1 bath, like 900 square feet. And the tenant has been on a lease option for 2 years, and now she wants to move over to seller finance. So it's been a great run with this property. I have a fantastic tenant, and now I just want to figure out the numbers and what that looks like for moving over to seller finance.
Cool. Have you already found a potential buyer?
Yeah, it's the tenant that's been lease optioning it.
Oh, wonderful.
It's been like this, it's like been a very smooth deal. So yeah.
Okay, sweet. And the 2 classes that Dane attributes to helping him with this process is Tony Scotty's Contract for Deed class and Jeff Armstrong's Seller Finance Note class. So I'm assuming you've watched those more than once.
I've watched them both more than once. I'm on Tony's like the fourth time in the past year. So yes, I get to watch Jeff Armstrong's a little bit more. I know that I got to sit down and focus on because it's more numbers, but I have watched it plenty of times.
Sweet. So those of you who haven't been watching, Tony Scotti has a class called Contract for Deed, and it's going to change how you think about acquiring properties and making cash flow. It's a way to drastically reduce your risk while keeping your cash flow. I was explaining that at this networking event I went to. The guy was like, "Yeah, I got 4 rentals, and one of the big things that scared him was back during the pandy when they were doing the eviction moratoriums, and essentially, if someone stopped paying, you couldn't kick them out. That is so un-American, right? And I get all the risks that are involved, and it's feelings on both sides. I get it, but think about where if someone can come in and say you don't get to make money, you don't get to collect rent, you don't get to enforce that. That was too scary. So he was talking about how he was thinking about getting out of real estate, and then I told him, well, why don't you just and then I explained the type of deal that Tamara's working on and what Dane's been showing with us. And he just like turned wide-eyed at me and was like, you are blowing my mind right now. So of course I got to pitch him on Renatus and show him the whole system that we're working on. But it's something that people that are already in real estate, they understand the risks of rental income, but they're still willing to do it. And now when we show them this method, they're like, oh, yes, I want in. And so this actually happened to Tamara, and now she's working on this deal. So um, you want to tell us like what you bought it for, how long you've owned it, what you've been renting it for, and kind of take us through that experience.
Yeah, so this is a very, as I mentioned, very simple house. I bought it for about $36,000. It needed new floors, so I put about $15,000 into it, and it's I'm selling it to her for 69.
Dude, that's so cheap.
I know.
I know some people are like 6,900 a month. Like, what do you mean 69?
Yeah.
Where did you say it was? Ohio?
It's in the boondocks of North Carolina.
The boondocks of North Carolina.
Yeah, I really like that area actually. Here, yeah, it's like, yeah.
Do you have like something on Zillow or something you could show us real quick?
Yeah, hang on a second.
Some people are getting a little intimidated, especially like in the Utah, Colorado, Idaho market. Like right now, the median house price is like 410, 430,000. And it's like, well, there's also $50,000 houses. There's, you go look in Southern Illinois where Chris Albin hangs out and you're finding 30, 40, $50,000 houses. You don't have to be dealing with $500,000 houses if you don't want to. Now, some of you got to get over that distance thing because you want to be able to go drive by it, look at it, and kick it, smell it, whatever. But as on our Wealth Wednesdays, as you've heard Dane over the years say, 90% of these I never even look at. We're just looking at the paperwork and we're keeping our risk low, but we're understanding the paperwork and the process, so we don't need to look at it. And some of you just need to get over that limiting belief around you have to buy in your city. So anyway, what inspired you to go to North Carolina, you crazy New Yorker?
Um, one of my mentors in Renata said, "Hey, I have a lead for you." And long story short, one lead led to 5 houses because I've nurtured the lead and built other relationships. So I mean that part's Bill Ome's class, but yeah. So yeah, he gave me a lead. One of my mentors gave me a lead and I just ran with it. And then it's been awesome.
Sweet. Taking action. That's the key here. Okay, well, great. Well, let's get into a deeper analysis. So, folks, Wealth Wednesday, GM, welcome. What we do here on Wealth Wednesdays is we talk all things marketing, real estate, and how to combine the two to use the Renatus Wealth Cycle. So, this is your first time here. Welcome. Put it in your calendar so you never skip a Wealth Wednesday. Get the reminders. And today, our trainer is Mr. Diane Clark. He has completely revolutionized his life, his experience, his parents, his kids, his brothers and sisters, everyone around him has had a positive impact because of the real estate knowledge and action he's taken. But he started out with nothing. He started out flat broke, working for $9 an hour, just trying to figure it out. And he was in the point in his life, and this is something I want to emphasize when you're talking to new people and you're like, you should join Renatus. And they say, well, I only make this many dollars an hour and I got a crazy life thing coming. Well, Dane's first baby was on the way. Just a few months before his first baby was born, he joined Renatus, spent the 26 grand, but the action that he took, thank you, sweetie pie, the marketing action he took, the velocity banking, the real estate deals, within a year, he had paid it all off and was on his way to crushing his goal. He wanted to get 10 deals in 10 years, and he did that in about 2 years. And now he's doing more than 10 deals a year. And he's been a fantastic example. I believe he's going to be a guest speaker for the networking mastermind tomorrow. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but he'll confirm that. But he goes all over the country, trains, and educates people. And one thing I like about him is the mental fortress he has built. There's too many people out in the normie world talking about negativity and victim mentality, but not this dude. No, no, no. So he's got a great example of the mindset that is needed to be a success in this game as well. So everyone give a big warm welcome to the man of the hour, Mr. Diane Clark.
What is up, my friends?
Yeah,
Hope you guys
welcome.
turn down a little bit of light. It's like super bright this beautiful morning. I hope you guys had a wonderful week, had some good conversations, as always. And yeah, what's cooking today?
Well, we were just getting
Hey.
the lowdown on Tamara's deal. She's converting a rental into this contract for deed, seller finance, quasi banking possibility. And so before she does her final execution, we wanted to run some numbers and make sure everyone sees the process from beginning to end.
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, Remington.
You see GM?
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
You want to see how? Hi, Tamara. Hi, Dane.
Cool. Oh, whoops. I don't know what I just clicked. There we go. All right. So how far have we gotten, or are we starting from scratch?
With the deal?
Yes.
So she's in so I have had a lease option tenant in there for 2 years. She's paid about $18,000 over the 2 years. She pays $750 a month, and now she's converting into seller finance. She has it under contract, for 60,000.
Mhm.
Uh,
So do you already own it, or okay, so she's paying you via a lease option or just a lease?
she's been on a lease option, but now I have to figure out the numbers to roll it into seller finance.
I see. Okay, so let's do this. Share Safari. Actually, no, I want to do the different one. Share this Safari. All right. Let's do this. This will just help me get my bearings on. Oops. All right. You comfortable sharing the address with me?
Sure.
Or with all of us, I guess.
Sure. It's 1084 Decatur Street,
D.
CAU. Yeah, there it is.
Oh,
Orangeburg.
Brooklyn?
Orangeburg, no, not Brooklyn.
Orangeburg. All right. 3 beds, 1 bath,
Yep.
800 square feet, built in 1960, 7,000 square foot lot. Cool. We got the right house here.
Yep, that's it.
All right. So I guess we could do this 2 different ways because you already own it. And so we don't necessarily have to do this I use the Burr, a software that allows to track Burr method type deals for stuff like this. Um, but yeah, we could actually skip to the chase and just talk about the refinance portion. But what would you prefer? Like the whole deal to show or
Let's do the whole deal.
okay, cool. So let's go through this. What did you buy it for?
30,000.
$30,000. What do you think it would appraise for today?
I'm just gonna guess because I'm not sure.
That's
Like
okay.
75.
Okay. For some reason, this software thought it was 98, but we'll go with 75. All right. So purchase price, do you currently have a loan on it?
Yes, of 40,000.
40,000. So let's do
Private. Yeah.
custom. $40,000 loan amount. How much interest are you paying?
8%.
8%. Amortizing or interest only?
Interest only.
Okay. Any other loans on the property?
No.
Okay. Purchase costs, we're going to leave it at that. Did you dump any rehab or other
Yeah,
money into
like
this?
7,000 into the floor.
Okay, so rehab 7,000. Holding period. How long did you say you have held this now?
2 years if she's been renting. Oh,
2 years.
for the rehab cost, just put 10. I think
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so 10,000, 24 months so far. Let's see, refinance. So if we think it's going to appraise for the 75,000
I'm gonna double check the
and we did a 75% LTV, actually, I'll ask you that question. Have you done any research on what kind of loans you can get, what kind of loan to value you can get, what you want? Do you know these details yet?
so I just found a lender. This is a little bit tricky to I was a little bit stuck for a second for a couple reasons with this. I just found a lender that's going to do it. I think it's the DS.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
DSCR, okay.
Yeah.
What loan to value?
Let's say 70.
70. And did they quote you interest rate?
I haven't gotten that far.
Okay, let's just leave it at 7.5 for now. 30-year amortization, yes. All right, so have you negotiated with your buyer how much they would be paying? I guess you kind of need to know what your loan amount is going to be, but have you talked to your buyer about payment?
Not yet. This is where I wanted to get started to see like how you take this process from here.
Gotcha. Cool. So let's just have me get my bearings for now. So 30,000 purchase, $10,000 in, so you're $40,000. Oh wait, rehab costs, 100% financed. I didn't mean to do that.
And one thing about this, folks, is that we're not
Oh
just
no, just kidding.
right into these type of deals. Tamara has watched the classes many times and is now ready to execute. So we're not just going off of this because of a morning call. She spent, I don't know, 20, 30 hours rewatching these classes, taking notes, and being a serious student. So be serious.
100%. All right, so $40,000 loan, $30,000 purchase, 10,000. So basically, like you're not in this a whole lot of cash yourself. Maybe just some closing cost.
Yeah,
Private
don't put
money.
any cash in it.
Okay. $75,000 valuation. How much has she been paying?
750.
750. So let's put that in our holding costs. I usually call this before refinance payment. So we're going to say negative $750. How long have you been receiving that?
2 years.
Oh, okay, cool. So right from the beginning, basically.
Yeah.
Perfect. So let's just leave that for now. Excuse me, sorry. Actually, you know what? Are you paying
Insurance is $700.
per year?
Yeah.
Okay, so per year 700. Oh, whoops.
Actually, both is close, so that's fine.
Okay, cool. So we'll leave that there like that. Loan service, I'm guessing nothing there. Cool. So that gets us a little bit accurate. And then is she paying in either of these two as well, or her like gross revenue that you're receiving is 750?
750 gross.
Yeah, and that's to offset. Perfect. All right. So you're cash flowing, if I'm seeing this correctly. Yeah, because are you paying your private money?
No, I'm gonna do a balloon payment and pay her all my.
Just accruing. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Cool. So it's been accruing at $277 a month, but you're receiving the 750. This is going to account for you paying that, but basically, like I do the same thing. I have my private money loans just accrue until we're done, and then I usually have to cut a check at the end or account for it at the end, essentially. So um, apples to apples, this will account for either or. So all right, so let's say we did a 75% loan to value, $52,000 loan. Refinance costs will probably a little bit more than this. Let's say like 6% just to be safe here. Could be a little bit more, I'm not sure, but I've never done one this small. I
Right.
just know that the ratio gets bigger as the loan gets smaller. So let's just assume I think I put 6% for all your closing costs, um, paying back your private money, plus it's already being accounted for here in the 6,000. So basically to pay back your private money, you are um, 6,000 plus 40. Oh wait, did you pay points or anything on
No.
that? So here, let me change that then. Get rid of those two things. Title insurance. Yeah, we'll just leave all these here for now. Okay. All right, let's go back to here. Okay. So because you've already received a bunch of cash over the last 2 years, this is basically already accounting for that. And that's why the holding cost is negative 11, because you've received 18,000 for the last 2 years, but accrued 6,000 in interest to your private lender. And so that's why this is saying the negative 11,000. But essentially you've already received it.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay, so we have to be mindful of that one. Plus, um, owing owing that money and then getting a loan for 52, um, essentially you'll be, if we do the math, essentially you'll be cashing out around $10,000 to do that loan. Plus all the money you've received, or sorry, because you've received 18,000.
Right.
Yeah. So, so basically at the end of the day, you'll be $20,000 ahead is what this is showing. Accounting for the 18,000 you've already received, minus paying some of the interest that's owed, plus some refinance costs, and whatnot. Does that make sense? Clear as mud?
Yeah, yeah, it's super
that you're
clear.
$20,000 ahead. Okay, yeah. But it's been over the course of 2 years. Um, all right, so let's come down to here. Now, when you sell or finance, you get one extra benefit because right now you've been paying about $58 to taxes and insurance, but we're going to do $700 a year and $700 a year for taxes and insurance. Are you going to use a loan service or just basically have her pay you direct still?
Have her pay me direct for now.
Yeah, so we'll just get rid of that. And then let's just double check that that's also not there. Cool. Whoops. So 117, 117. Perfect. Okay, so her payment to you, oh, wait, we didn't talk about this yet, but we need to. So what we need to decide is how much, let's see, how can I share my screen to do this math? Maybe I can do this. All right, so how much is she buying from you?
She's buying it for 60,000 for me.
So let's see if it lets me just do this.
Actually,
60,000.
57 because she already put an option fee down, and I take that away from the 57.
Okay. In fact, here we can do Car's mortgage calculator. This will be perfect. Okay. So she's buying from you for 70,000, sorry, 60,000.
Yeah.
And then you're counting a down payment of,
I'm collecting a down payment, another down payment of 5,000.
okay. So 5,000. And then you said that you are applying some towards that purchase as well.
Yeah, she already put down an option fee of 3,000.
3,000. Okay. So basically 7,000 total,
Yeah.
if I'm catching on. Okay. So she's giving you $7,000 total, which means her principal balance will be
No,
50.
no, no. Oh, sorry. Yes, yes. You got it. Sorry. Yeah, you got it.
Cool.
5
So her,
plus 3 is 8, guys.
thank you, Michael.
Don't trust the two people that don't do numbers in their head.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not a head math and numbers guy. So, all right. So basically, the principal balance is 52,000 for her starting balance, and then let me just come back to here really fast. Whoops. Just to make sure, because if yours, cool. So one thing to note is when seller financing, you never want your loan balance to be larger than your seller finance buyer's loan balance. If you're selling it with a loan in place on seller financing, you don't want your loan balance to be larger than theirs. And so I think we're like right there though. Yeah. So we're $500. So either you tell her she can put a little bit less down, or you put just a little bit more down. Because you can't have a $52,500 loan that you owe your bank and then seller finance and then she owes. I mean, we're basically right there, but then she only owes you 50,000.
Right. So I'll take $3,000, $4,000 less. So she'll, or three, whatever, $3,000 or $4,000 less. I don't, whatever.
Basically to increase her side, and you'll still, if I'm catching on, you'll tell her, hey, you don't have to bring 5,000 down. You only have to bring 4,500. Or are you saying you'll just lower your loan amount with the loan officer, with your loan officer?
No. Oh, I was saying she can bring $2,000 less.
$2,000 less. Okay.
I knew those numbers were gonna be a little close, but I wasn't.
Yeah, that's all right. So we'll go to 6,000. Michael, check my math. So she owes you 54,000. All right, now we need to figure out payment wise. Because here, let's go back to this again. Right here. Because if you get a $52,000 loan, your mortgage payment is going to be $367 a month, assuming 7.5% interest. And when I'm seller financing, I don't really pay attention to taxes and insurance because it's a wash. They're going to pay $117, you're going to pay $117. And so I don't really pay it. So I only try to look at principal and interest payments. And so your principal and interest payment is 367. And so we just need to decide what is worth it to you to charge her for again, just principal and interest. And so for example, if we charge her 8% interest, then her payment, principal and interest only, is 396. And what did I say yours was? Like 360 something?
Yeah.
Yeah, 367. So for example, if I just run the scenario that's on the screen now, her payment was, what I say, 396.
367.
And then, oh wait, did I do that? Did I do this backwards? So hers is, okay, so hers is 396.
Oh,
Yours is 367. So in that scenario, if you're charging her 8% and basically your both of your loan amounts are like almost identical, hers is 56, 54. So hers is 54, yours is 52.5 or 53. Let's see. Switch back and forth here. So yeah, yours is 52.5. And so really you're only cash flowing $29.
oh,
Again, that's just the scenario that auto generated on the screen for us. So we just need to decide, okay, what makes it worth it for you to do all this? And so you, because right now, to do the seller financing with principal, interest, tax, and insurance, again, just the scenario on the screen, it means nothing to me because we'll adjust it to what you want. And most importantly, what she's willing to pay. But that is basically her out the door payment, principal, interest, tax, insurance, 513. So let's say that you're like, oh, well, what if I just try to match it to exactly what it was? This is actually one reason I love Carl's mortgage calculator. I'm actually not sure how to do it on the computer though. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I need to change to interest and we want to change the payment to, let's see, let's say we just match exactly what it was. So 750 minus principal or taxes and insurance were $117. Yeah, was it? Did I remember that correctly? Let's double check our math here. Yeah, so $117 for principal and interest, or sorry, taxes and insurance. Principal and interest needs to be 633. So 633. And so that now gets us to where she is currently apples to the same payment, the same out the door payment. So you basically tell her like, hey, I'll start seller financing it to you for the same payment that you have been making. And I hate
that's
to use,
essentially what I told her.
what's that?
That's essentially what I told her.
Okay, yeah. So effectively though, that is, and this is again, this is why I like Carl's mortgage calculator is because I can solve for any one of these things, payment, years, interest, or principal. Right now I'm solving for interest because I want to enter in my own payment of 633, which spits out 13.84% interest. So it's higher interest. Tony Scotti actually, if I'm not mistaken, does them around this or higher. For small house prices like this. And so this is basically how you match her payment. She was paying 750, she still is paying 750, and so because all these numbers are kind of set in a way, you're selling for 60,000, she's giving 6,000 down, balance of 54, and you need the payment to be 750 out the door. Then your 633 principal and interest, 13.84% interest. So if we come back to here and let's change that to, I already forgot, 633.
Yeah.
Double check, yeah, 633. So if I come back to here and change that to 633 per month, and that's just assuming principal and interest, and I know it says gross rent right here, but just pretend this says principal and interest. Whoops. So she's 633, 117 taxes and insurance. So her out the door payment is 750. You also pay taxes and insurance, and it'd be included in your mortgage payment. And your payment on that 52.5 loan at 7%, 7.5% interest. So you're cash flowing 266 at the end of the day, plus you're $20,000 ahead. So infinite return, you're $20,000 ahead and 266 a month. Clear as mud?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I'm charging her 13% interest.
This like 13, almost 14% interest.
Is that high? Isn't that a little high? Do you feel or no? I don't.
It's subjective.
Gotcha.
High is a relative term to many scenarios. On small dollar amounts like this, like if we talk to like Umair Hawk, he does small dollar amount properties like this out in, I think it's Virginia. And he does higher interest rates like this. I know Tony Scotti talked about this where he's also getting higher interest rates on smaller dollar amount properties. Bill Omi, I know he's getting higher interest rates. I don't know what exactly any of them are of the three people I mentioned, but I know that they are getting higher interest rates. In my area, in fact, when I joined the call, Michael was talking about this. In my area, like I'm doing pretty good if I get 9. If I get 9% interest on but I'm doing $500,000 homes. Which is, like I said, I came in and Michael was talking about this, and I'm guessing that's what he's talking about is in my area, $500,000 homes. I'm doing freaking good if I get 9. I did just do a small dollar amount home here in Utah. It was a mobile home, and I think I'm charging them like 25% interest. Like the amortization is at 25%. Like on paper even. And so I think it was only like a $45,000 loan or mobile home, whatever. So so it's all subjective. Essentially, now I wouldn't, in something like this, I wouldn't try to sell them on rate. I'd try to sell them on payment at the end of the day and just say, yeah, I'll match what it was and house is yours. And you'll start building equity today. Or can say, oh, well, you've been paying 750. Again, I'm just giving you ideas. You've been paying 750 typically as an owner now, and as an owner, basically, I'll give you the same payment that you were, but now as an owner, you got to start paying taxes and insurance. And so you increase her payment by the 117. And so let's do that math. Again, I'm just spitballing at this point, but basically change that to 750. Now we're at 16.5% interest, but 750 payment plus tax and insurance. So if I come back to here and say, pretend that says PI, principal and interest, 750. And now you're 383 a month. Cool. More ideas? I got more scenarios. I mean, we can now that we have this as a base, we can play all kinds of fun games.
Sure. I'd love to. I have 2 more of these kind of houses coming up, so I would love to get more ideas.
Yeah. So for example, if you're like, oh, I don't necessarily need to capitalize, I think I've been sharing that as on some of my own deals that I'm just like, oh, I don't need to capitalize myself. I don't care about receiving $20,000. I mean, I guess in this case, you've been receiving it over 2 years. But let's say you're like, oh, instead of cashing out, what if I only cash out 10,000 or break even? And so I'm not necessarily money ahead or money behind. And so you lower your loan amount And oftentimes, better loan to value, you can get better interest rates. But let's say that you come in and say, all right, instead of doing a 70% loan to value, we do like, in fact, here, let's do custom loan amount of $35,000 from the DSCR lender. And let's see what that does now. So now basically you're still money ahead by 11,000. Oops, 3,000. That was, this is, oh, this, yeah, just holding costs. So at the end of the day, all things considered, now you're still technically money ahead, but because you've been receiving the $18,000 over the last 2 years, you would technically have to bring some money to the table to do the scenario I'm showing now, because this is accounting for you not already have receiving those holding costs over the last 2 years, but now you're still money ahead at the end of the day since you started this deal. Put some of the earnings, I guess, back into it is how you could look at that. But now your payment, so let's say we leave hers at the 750 and say, like, okay, yeah, well, I'll leave your payment 750, but as an owner, now you have to pay taxes and insurance, but you get the benefit of appreciation, amortization, depreciation, stuff like that. And so her payment is 867. Again, I'm just spitballing. You tell me to change anything at any time. And if we dropped your loan amount, now your payment is 245, and so you're cash flowing 506.
Uh,
But this is assuming that she goes for like, okay, yeah, my payment's 750, but now my payment is going to include taxes and insurance. And so it's going up $117. If she will go for that.
so did you have a scenario, was the last one that she didn't pay the taxes and insurance and I did, or?
We could, I mean, not necessarily that she didn't pay them, but you make up for it in the rate,
Yeah.
basically. And so we can run that scenario and say, let's see, the
Doesn't
principal and interest is
doesn't
only 633.
doesn't Tony talk about he pays the taxes, or he just makes sure they pay the taxes? I remember him talking about.
Either one. I
Oh,
mean, at the end of the day, you can make it look like less by saying like, oh, I won't make you pay the taxes and insurance monthly, which your bank will probably make you do. I shouldn't say make, because you can call up your bank, depending on the bank, but you can call up your bank and say, hey, I want to just pay my own escrows. And so don't include it in my payment. And you can just say, you can just tell your buyer, like, hey, you got to make sure you pay the taxes once a year. You got to make sure you pay the insurance once a year. And you will have to keep your insurance on the house because your lender will force you to have insurance that covers them. But you basically just send your buyer the bill and say, hey, here's the insurance bill. Pay me and I'll pay it, or you just pay it direct, either way. But yeah,
what do
so
you do?
I just have them pay monthly. And so their monthly payment is basically like what we're showing here, where they pay taxes, or sorry, principal and interest, and they pay taxes and insurance. And so their out the door cost includes all of that: principal, interest, tax, insurance. And then I have it as included in my payment to my bank as well. And so it's all just a wash. And I just have that peace of mind that I know that it's getting paid. I don't have to track down dozens of people every year and say, did you pay your insurance? Did you pay your taxes?
Right.
It's just paid. And so I do it out of convenience to not have to, chase people down in once a year. Well, technically twice a year, because the insurance and taxes are rarely due on the same day or even in the same month. And so I would have to chase them down once a year for insurance and once a year for taxes. So I basically have to chase dozens of people down twice a year to make sure that their taxes and insurance are paid. And I don't personally want to do that.
Right.
I don't even want to pay somebody to do that. Uh,
Yeah.
And so just makes it easy for me to do that. So in this scenario, you basically tell her that her out the door payment is the same as it was, 750. And so you're including the taxes and insurance in that. And so you cash flow 389. And again, this is you bringing some cash to close, which you've already received 18, but you'd reimburse 18 minus 4-ish. So you'd reimburse 14,000 that you have received, and just reinvest it into this deal is how you could look at that, I guess. And cash flow 389 a month. And so you're still infinite return, but lower cash flow, also having to reimburse some money that you have received. Or another scenario, we could say, let's say you're like, oh, well, I don't necessarily need money out of it, but I also don't want to put money back in. The money the money you've received, you want to leave that in place. And so we could do something like let's see what $45,000 loan does. Basically, I'm going to try and get this bottom line to 18. So let's go up. Let's do this. Because I think we had it at 52 before. Here, let's see what 50,000 does. Oops. All right, we're going to call that 18. So this would be a scenario where you're like, okay, I don't want to put more money into this. I don't want to reimburse, if you will, or reinvest the money I've received, because you've received 18,000. You're just like, I just want it to be break even money wise. And so you've received 18,000 and you keep it and refinance and pay the fees and pay your private money, pay all that stuff. So you're basically break even. Or sorry, no, you're still 18,000 ahead, but you don't have to reimburse anything. You keep all the 18,000 you received and get a loan for $50,000. Let's say that we run the scenario where she's like, oh, 750 out the door. So accounts for taxes and insurance for the 750, then you're cash flowing 284.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the first scenario on this for now.
Let's see. Let me take it back to that. So which one was it? Basically doing a 52.
Yeah, where I walk away
52.5.
cash.
7.5% interest. And then keep her payment at 750 total, accounting for taxes and insurance.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got that. Here, let's look. All right, so make sure I put everything back. So 52.5, 20,000. Her payment is 750 out the door. Cool. So you're cash flowing 266 in that scenario. Again, assuming that your interest rate is 7.5.
Got it. Is there any way I can get that copy?
Yeah. So do you want, here, I'll text this to you.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, there you go.
Dane, can you clarify how the insurance works? Is the policy still going to be in Tamara's
Yes.
name?
So Tamara is gonna call her. In fact, you might already have insurance on this.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So technically nothing's gonna change. Her insurance agent is looking at this as a rental property, and or oftentimes they'll call it a non-owner occupied insurance policy, which the insurance policy covers Tamara and her property. It does not cover anything that the tenant owns that is being stored in or around the house. Cars, computers, anything of value. And so she's just going to leave it. She's going to leave it on there as a non-owner occupied insurance policy, AKA slang word rental policy. And she's going to leave it just like that. She's going to leave it in her name or her company's name. Nothing changes. And what I do is tell my buyer, and I say, hey, basically exactly what I just said. It covers the house. So if anything happens to this house, we're covered. It does not cover your personal belongings. So if you do want that covered, then you'll want to go get a personal property policy, aka slang word rental policy. But essentially what that is a personal property insurance to say, hey, I would like to insure my belongings. Obviously they probably have auto insurance, and so that's covered there. But if they have valuable things, you know, if they've got a safe with a bunch of stuff in it, if they've got computers, I'm trying to think of items of value, you know, tools or whatever, basically anything of value that are their personal belongings kept in or around the home, they'll want their own insurance policy to cover that. And one beautiful thing about having two policies like that is actually cheaper. And you can honestly say this to your client, to your buyers, to your seller finance buyers, that, hey, a non-owner occupied house policy and a personal property policy, even though you're technically paying two policies, is still technically a little bit cheaper than getting a full-blown homeowner's policy. And it really is cheaper. It might not cover as much, like sometimes you know, there's interesting things that homeowners insurance can cover. I've heard some interesting stories around that, and so they might not have some of those unique type things in coverage, but it covers the house and it covers their personal belongings by having those two, if that makes sense. But yes, Tamara will leave the insurance in her name because her bank will require it.
Okay, and so the new was, he's already been there for a couple of years. So they are responsible also for their own appliances and HVAC system stuff. Is that going to be written
Yes.
in your
Yep.
contract?
Correct. Yep. They are taking ownership of the home. If the roof leaks, they need to fix it. If the water heater breaks, they need to fix it. Like they're homeowners, essentially.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. So cool. More questions around this? I have not been watching comments, and so let's see. Oh yeah, thank you, Tam. Or thank you, Bruce. Carl's mortgage calculator. Oh, good point, Bruce. So usury laws. Here, let's talk about this. So I've never Googled South Carolina, but let's just see what happens. South Carolina usury law.
Another like 25% in New York.
So
Huh.
maximum interest is 8.75.
Or 20% in New York or something.
Yeah. General legal rates. Now,
Yeah, credit cards charge 29.9%. How to get away with that?
yeah. So here, let's do this because I've never Googled South Carolina, so I don't know. But Utah, if I do that, it says in Utah, the default legal interest rate is 10% unless the parties agreed to a different rate in a written contract.
Hmm.
There is no general usury cap. However, criminal usury legal loans are rates higher than the law according to. So I'm not sure if that's across the country. Worth doing some digging though, at least. But yeah, again, maximum is 10% absent a contract, which I'm just like, why would you ever agree to an interest rate without a contract? I don't know, but so yeah, so worth looking into to find out because yeah, I mean, people do it every day in mobile home parks, in check, what do they call those? Check check cashing. What do they call those places? Not buy here, pay here. That's for cars. Well, I mean, technically buy here, pay here, car stuff, like guaranteed. And so I'm
Payday
guessing
loan companies.
payday loan. Yeah, payday loan. Like they are, if you don't pay certain bills and the balance carry a balance, you could be charged interest on contracts, so to speak. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so yeah, worth at least a conversation, I would say. But for the most part, as long as you have a contract and both parties agree to it, again, that's not legal advice, but worth at least a question to a local licensed individual that might know. But yeah, thanks for bringing that
Good.
up. I think it was Bruce. Let's see. Mortgage calculator. Cool. Let's see. So far your tenant has just been a tenant and you're proposing a lease option or contract for deed. I'm guessing that already. But cool. All right. Let's see. I think there was one other person that was Aaron. Is Aaron on? I know Aaron was asking me some questions
Thank you so much, Dane. That was awesome.
previously. All right. So in fact, Aaron, now that I'm saying this, I remember what it was about. And to protect people's identity, I'm just going to do this hypothetically. And I really think this is important to talk about for everybody. But let me get my iPad on here. How much time we got? Yeah, we got time. So Aaron and I were talking about, again, raising money, putting money into deals, raising money inside the community, outside the community, all that kind of stuff. We just might have, yes, Michael. In fact, Micah, you might have to help me understand what you mean. Mindset flaws or traps.
You know how some people are just they overgeneralize their things and then they end up losing money on real estate, and it's because they had a thought flaw or an overgeneralization. And so sometimes on these calls we get down to the very specific, on this specific address, this zip code, with this buyer.
Oh yeah.
You know,
In fact, yeah. The topic that Aaron really got me going on the other day, and I was like, oh, we got to talk about this on Wednesday. I'm going to cover that and so here, let's share my iPad screen real quick here. All right. Share, let's see, they changed it around. Share iPad. And then I have to go back here. All right. And then perfect. There we go. So yeah, so we were talking about raising money. Now I've got a rule of thumb that when you're putting money into deals, and this applies to fix and flips, this applies to rentals, this applies to seller financing. I mean, anything, construction, development, you name it, that there is a point in real estate that, in my opinion, you might as well be doing Shark Tank. You might as well be on Shark Tank, because investing in just a business, AKA stocks and bonds, even. You might as well be investing in stocks and bonds or somebody's business, because it's not asset backed and you can lose every penny. And so when it comes to, let's just set this up as, oops, oh, connect the pencil. So let's just set this up as, all right, let's say we have a piece of property that has a nice overhang. So, and let's just say that the value of the house is X. Let's just spit out an easy number here. I'm just going to say 500,000. Just for easy math. So let's say here is value. This is like what it would appraise for. This is what it's worth. Okay. Value, not valve. Okay. Now, when investing in real estate, if you go buy a house, let's say this house for $500,000, technically you lost money. What I mean by that is you go buy a house for $500,000 and let's say, in fact, I've seen this. Let's say you buy at $500,000, it's worth $500,000, so no discounts. And you're like, oh, but it's going to Airbnb for $8,000 a month. It's going to, whatever. Like there is an opportunity to make money still, even though you didn't get any discounts. And so the rule of thumb, and we've heard this from the instructors, you make your money when you buy. In this scenario, you go buy a house for $500,000, you lost money. Because let's say you buy it and you're, oh yeah, Airbnb says that we can make $8,000 a month. And then you don't. I've seen that many times, that Airbnb doesn't pan out exactly as everybody thought. And so now you're like, crap, I'm not making even the payment that I need to make. And so I'm going to sell the house. But you already lost money when you bought it, because rule of thumb, if you're going to go sell this house, expect like, if you're paying regular fees, expect paying like 7%. And so $500,000 times 0.07, that's, times, you basically just lost $35,000. Plus if you Airbnb it, then there's costs of whatever. But minimum, actually, no, that's even more because of the purchase costs, but minimum $35,000, $40,000 lost to go pay retail, right? So the object of the game is to make money when you buy or lend or get involved in real estate. You make your money when you buy. This is what they mean by that. So for example, let's just use the example of lending first. And so let's use blue for lending. Let's say that because there can be many people that make money in a piece of real estate in many different ways, and let's talk about them. So typically you have, we're going to start from the bottom up, as we're going to call this chain of title. Chain of title. And like I said, we're going to start from the bottom to the top. In chain of title, typically you have your lenders who will be paid first. In the event that a house is sold, you have the lenders first. And let's make this kind of more to scale. Typically, lenders are willing to bring the most money in the deal, which is fine. But you have your lenders. And so let's say that you have a lender that brings 80%. And so $400,000 is the lender. And then you have maybe gap lenders or down payment lenders. So down payment lenders, let's say that they bring like 10%. Or actually, no, oftentimes a gap lender will bring the rest. And so then you have gap lenders who bring $100,000. Oh wait, no, we made money when we bought. So let's actually lower all of these. Let's say we actually bought the house for $400,000. And so we're going to say that the lender brought $300,000. And we'll leave that one actually, 100 actually. All right, so 300,000. And so we're going to call this purchase, right? Because we're following that rule. You make your money when you buy. So in this scenario, we didn't bring any money to the table. We brought all lenders, right? First position lender, second position lender, effectively on chain of title, and gap lender, whatever you want to call it, money, right? So now, as a lender, did you make your money when you lent. Well, I shouldn't say make money because you don't own the property. But if let's say this lender ended up with this house because they had to foreclose, did the lender make their money back? Yes, they did, because they have a good loan to value. Okay. Did this lender make their money back? If in a worst case scenario, they had to foreclose, they're now effectively in this house $400,000. Even though they only brought 100 grand, they technically have to account for being in this house $400,000. And this is where I see people make big mistakes. And just wait till we get to the next one too. But they're like, oh, $100,000, purchase price of 400,000. Like, dude, I'm safe. Until they go to sell the house and chain of title kicks in. In fact, I've got to meet with somebody later today on this very thing where they didn't understand this. They're not a member of Renatus. They should be. In fact, we'll be talking about that. But this is where I see people lose the most money. Now, let's even go to equity partners. That's a terrible handwriting. Equity partners. And yes, they are lower on the totem pole, or in our case, where we're starting from the bottom up, they are after lenders because they are effectively owners. And equity partners that are like, let's say, tenants in common or joint tenants, they're on title directly. Equity partners who, let's say the house was purchased in an LLC and the equity partner is a 50% owner in the LLC or a percentage owner in the LLC, and then the investor who brought the whole deal, whatever, is another owner of the LLC and the LLC is on title. Or the worst one I've seen is joint ventures, where people will joint venture as an equity partner. And let's say that there's remodel on this house and we're going to spend $30,000. Okay. Right off the top of my head, this as a fix and flip, this wouldn't even work, but just to prove a point or to make the point. So equity partner, $30,000 into this deal. That equity partner needs to have in their mind that, okay, I'm effectively in this house $430,000 plus fees. Okay. And so let's say equity partner brings that $30,000. Oh, and then I talked about joint venture. Joint venture, equity partner is literally not attached to this house. They can't make any decisions. They couldn't sabotage a sale. They couldn't, I mean, there are ways, but you'd have to get real legal. But they couldn't demand if this house sold and there was an equity partner who is a joint venture partner into the deal. If the house sold, the equity partner has no power to basically say, hey, I need to get paid my money back at closing. Joint venture for you. So act accordingly. But that person also needs to realize that, hey, I'm last on the totem pole on this deal when it comes to value in the house. And so the thing that I see, in fact, here's my rule of thumb. When you're selling a house and you have a chain of title position, if you are anywhere above 90, let's call it 93%. 93% of value at a loan to value, if you will, or if you're an equity partner, we could call that like position to value. You might as well have been doing Shark Tank. You might as well have invested in stocks. You might as well have invested in somebody's business that sells a widget that could be worth $0. If you go above that line, and that's including, so let's say that the lender 6 months down the road, let's say they're charging 10% interest, and so now this, let's add $15,000 here. So $15,000 there. Let's say they're charging 20% interest for the gap lending. And so that's another $10,000 there. So now 425, which again, now you see what's happening. This equity partner, because these loan balances are increasing, this equity partner needs to realize that, okay, yeah, I was $400,000 below me, or that get paid before I do, and now I'm 430, but really those two loans are accruing. And so now he's like, oh, well, technically now I'm like 450, 455, if, you know, in this scenario of these two loans increasing. I hope I'm making sense. That as you increase the value of, or I should say, not increase the value, increase the dollar amounts put into deals, everybody gets pushed up, especially in owner positions or equity partner positions, or even technically second position. This person that brought the $100,000, if that $300,000 loan increases, let's say that worst case scenario, that we go a whole year and now it's $30,000 interest accrued, and that lender decides that they want to start foreclosing. They have to start charging attorney's fees and default payments and all kinds of stuff. And so, I mean, I've seen $300,000 loans cost $60,000 in interest. And so now that second position is in this house 400, effectively 460, which, if you recall, my rule of thumb is 97%. So 460,000 divided by $500,000 value, 500,000, that's 92%. So in that scenario, the gap lender, like, they're lucky to get just their money back if you're picking up what I'm putting down. And I'm sorry I'm laying this on really heavy. It's just, I see this too much where people get super excited to be like, yeah, I'm on chain to title, I'm on a equity, but they don't care to think about their loan to value or their position on title, their loan to position. If they're equity partner, they don't have a loan to value, they're just position. And notice that in that scenario, there is literally nothing left for that equity partner to go around. And so it is the most, and again, in my opinion, it is the riskiest place in real estate, known to real estate. And too many people trust the person that's presenting the information. I did it too. I'm guilty of this. I remember trusting a realtor too much. I remember trusting a realtor too much for this dollar amount. Oh, the value is this much money. I remember trusting the contractor too much, that, this is essentially our rehab money. I remember trusting a contractor too much, saying, oh yeah, this only costs $30,000. It costs $50,000. Trusting others too much. So get to know these numbers, basically. The loan to value or position to value, and understand the risk where, okay, what needs to go wrong, or what can go wrong, and everybody gets paid back. Okay. And so, for example, I'll kind of share the scenario that it was relayed to me just yesterday, and I told him, yeah, I'll talk to you. I actually have no obligation to help this person. A friend of mine, not inside the community, but a friend of mine called me up and said, hey, I've got this situation. Can you help just give him ideas? And I just said, out of the goodness of my heart, I will. I have no obligation to do this, but out of the goodness of my heart, I'll share with you. But here's the story. The scenario I'm showing you on the screen, basically, they borrowed money, they got some gap money, they got some equity partner in the money, and they ran out of the budget, right? The budget was not 30,000, the budget was 45. And so they needed $15,000 more. So they went and got $15,000 more from this sucker, basically, that had no idea what he was doing, and gave him $15,000. They put him on title. He's on chain of title, essentially. And so they snuck him in. Let's do this color. They snuck him in right here as a lender, as a private lender, let's call it, or a construction lender. And so they snuck him in on title. So technically, yeah, the owner of the house put them in a better position than the owner. This person will get paid before the owner, but there's not enough equity to go around. Like this, again, you make your money when you buy, you make your money, I need a term for the lender in this, like, because obviously you don't want to, when you make your money when you lend, yeah, I guess you could say that. You make your money when you lend. You secure your money when you lend, where if they don't do what they promise, you still secure yourself in position of this house. This person did not do this. This person lost their money literally the second that they lent money on this house. Even though they're all excited and confident, false sense of confidence, that that they were on chain of title. Like, oh, we used a title company. and I'm on title. But it didn't matter. They lost their money the second that they wired their money into this deal. And it was done. So anyway, just be so mindful of this, that as you are out there raising money, understand the risks, because especially if you're putting your own money in this. Personally, I only structure deals as if
Those need to go into the cooler, but
I only, yes, this definitely needs to get into the cooler. So, I only raise money when I would be the lender myself. If I'm raising money from all different places, it's easier for even the most honest of people to be like, oh yeah, like it's not my money, and we used everybody else's money for the deal. I've got no money in the deal. Like, it's a sexy thing to say, but treat it as if it was your money. And so, like I say, when I raise money for my own deals, I never raise other people's money and put it into a deal as if I wouldn't have even done it myself. Especially when we get into positions like this. And I have done, in fact, I just did one where I'm in third position. Yeah, I just did one where I'm in third position on the deal, but I made sure that it was like this. I can't remember what the values are, so let's just spitball this, but let's just use the same 500 info here. Let's just do this. The first position lender is like $180,000. The second position lender was only 60. And then me, I think I brought like 100. And so that's 200, 300. So basically, again, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm in this 360, 340. I'm in this 340. Did I make my money? Did I secure my paycheck when I brought that $100,000 in third position? Yes. Because I could foreclose, buy out both of these positions, and still secure my paycheck. Because my loan to value is in check. My position to value is in check. And so just be so, so cautious when you're raising money, when you're sending referrals back and forth for other people to be equity partners or gap lenders or down payment lenders or rehab lenders, whatever. Just be so cautious getting excited about putting money in. Because when you watch your Renatus education, you will discover how easy it is to put money into deals. It's freaking easy. Sign this paper, send a wire, done. And your money's in the deal. So easy. The trick is crunching the numbers enough so that you know your position of value, your loan to value, if you're a lender, your position in value if you are an equity partner, or your friends that you're referring to people, their position of value or their loan to value. Anyway, sorry to lay it on heavy, but I think this does need to be said.
Indeed, it does, because the risks are too high.
Yes, like
Yeah.
oh, I could tell you horror stories. Thankfully, people not in the community. I think there are a few within the community of people making mistakes like this, and I can almost guarantee they didn't watch the classes.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you, Dane. That is really nice that you brought it up today because, like, literally a couple of weeks ago, I just brought a new ICM, only been here with us for less than a year, and, very excited about getting the first deal and, has the epics, combo and all that. And somebody's in a community was actually raising fund for, like, for repair. So, and then I saw the contract and I'm like, what? I mean, and then it said at the bottom what really concerned me. And I said at the bottom, it's like, if I default, then you take me to court. Never mention anything about being secured by the real estate and all that. And
Ooh,
also
oh,
the person that is actually raising this, actually, he's been there for maybe 4 years, maybe, and he's done some deals and stuff, but didn't say anything. So I told him, I was like, first of all, you need to learn, take your classes. If you're going to do that, make sure you know how to analyze the deal, and make sure you have an equity, or like being a collateral. So, and if you're going with second position or third position, whatever position, like what you're saying, you're the third position, but you made sure that there's money in there that you're going to get paid. Once the first and second get paid, you get paid. So, I mean, he didn't do it, but it's like, I don't know about you, but they're supposed to be like really good. They kind of clicked it in the community. It's not hard to do, right? In the
yeah,
community, you get,
it's
you get
easy.
excited. But one thing, I mean, I tell them that it's like, take the time to learn your classes, because the deals, they're gonna be there. So, but the problem is now is if you do that and without your knowledge, you're gonna get burned. I mean, we have somebody in here. I mean, even Bob Tierney even told this guy how the epic combo. Take your classes before you do the deal. I don't know. Never listened. And first deal he did, lost 50,000.
Yes.
And he had the classes, but he's just so excited. And that's what, the every chance I get, if there's a new person, because I mean, I, I understand that, because when I started, I get excited too. And all this stuff that we could do, but, and I tell people, and in fact, we had a mastermind, and the person that was raising the fund actually was there. So I kind of mention it, in general, that if we're raising funds, make sure that those people that have the money, they're protected, because you know it's probably from their IRAs and all that, and that's their retired money, and they spend a lot of time raising the money and saving it for their retirement, and you don't want to get that and lose it.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
If I had retirement money, I would not be playing in these spaces.
yeah, it's
Like, no.
right. It's yeah, but yeah, again, if you know how to analyze it and all that, then you're good, as long as you do it, and make sure you have an attorney. And I've done deal. I've always, even with this community, I've bought properties prior to getting into this community without an attorney even. And but now that I have this education, I have these classes, even if I know how to buy it, I still use an attorney, because you
Mhm.
know what, I
Same.
have a couple, I'm like a set of eyes that I can, at least there's somebody I can say, well, if I didn't do it, he didn't, some one of us will will catch, something. So it's just a peace of mind for me, this time. But it's yeah, so I mean, it's a great thing that we collaborate, we go deals, do deals together and all that, but just we're make sure we secure those people that we borrow money from, and in our community, and or even not in the community. So
100%.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up because that is such a really, really important topic.
Yeah, and I wonder if we even
Yeah.
ought to have like a company wide, like, hey everybody, like I'm trying to think what classes cover this like in this light. I'm trying to think because I know like chain of title, Brian Sump talks about chain of title. Who's the other guy? The guy that's up here by me.
Gavin?
Gavin McCaleb. I know he talks about it. But I'm not sure if there's something that's like in your face, like this kind of stuff. Like when you're analyzing deals, you need to care more about your position, money, position to value, loan to value, whatever, more than anything.
Yeah, I put it in the comments here, folks. Prioritize competence or failure will be your future.
Yeah,
And
100%.
that's, prioritizing competence, watching your classes, finishing the modules, passing the quizzes at the end of these things, and being serious about it. That prioritize competence.
Yeah. And I want to make sure I point out that I'm not saying I have a problem with this. Like this is not wrong. You just need to know the risk. Because I've seen people be successful like that, where they overpay for the house because they're $500,000, they pay $500,000 for the house. And so technically they lost their money when they bought it, but they know without a doubt what they're doing. It's not a what if it works. It's we already know it's going to work. And here's the proof, verifiable evidence. And so they still do the deal. And so they make a more calculated risk to do that kind of a thing. Or like in a fix and flip situation where they're still technically below market value, but calculated risk. Anyway, I know Brian Sump's classes. I remember I'm trying to think of the faces that I remember them talking about chain of title. It was from my memory, it was Brian Sump. I don't remember which class because I know if I remember right, he teaches a couple, and Gavin McCaleb, and same thing. I know he teaches a couple. But yeah, Brian Sump talk about it. Gavin McCaleb talk about it. I can't remember if this is in the title and escrow class. I don't remember it being in the title and escrow class, but maybe for the next rendition would be a really good one to include this in the title and escrow class to talk about this topic, like just chain of title and how it relates to loan to value or position to value as an owner, as an equity partner, as a lender, as an investor. But yeah, so somebody, if somebody has watched the escrow class recently, let us know if you saw this in there. But I know, let's see, because who teaches that one? Is it still Christian George? That's what it was when I first joined, at least. But and there might be a new version.
Yeah, it's Christian George is doing
yeah.
the mortgage, understanding the mortgage and the title and
I don't know. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Christian George does cover it.
Okay, he does.
yeah, he
Good.
does cover that. Yeah.
Cool. So
And there
those
are
three.
other ones also too. And again, talking about, your position and so how you can, make sure you're
Yeah.
covered and
Because really, every single strategy, this applies. Like they could include this in every single class: fix and flip, rentals, seller financing, contract for deed, land development. Like all of them technically revolve around this, and could include it in the class. But I don't think we need to duplicate it over and over and over again. But yeah, it's out there. Gavin McCaleb, Brian Sump, Christian George. Look at those three instructors and their classes, and can go look for it.
And just on that point, I think it's a good segue to say that's why you should use Coach. Bring your deal through to him, take a look at it if you're new to it, because he'll immediately pick it up and say, you got to protect yourself.
Oh, yeah. he knows the signs. Like that little story. In fact, the one that I'm gonna have to help. In fact, what time is it? I've got a meeting with them here, and oh, just kidding. We scheduled it for a little bit later. Like I could have told the guy. Like the story was like they had already bought the fix and flip, and they weren't quite finished, which is red flag number one. But yeah, we're not done. We just need to raise another $15,000. Like that's the first red flag. It's like, wait a second, what happened between buying it and today that supposedly you already, oh yeah, financial strategies. I'm trying to remember if he talks about it, but I believe regardless, I would watch that class, whether this is in there or not. But yeah, Jay Massey's the man. But yeah, like that's the first red flag is we are not done with our fix and flip yet. We need to finish the remodel. We need a $15,000 more. It's like, okay, what's the story? Why didn't you raise that 15,000 from the start? Or is this like a surprise? We need another $15,000. Like that to me is like the first like, whoa. So you already spent the 30, you know, like in our scenario here, you already spent the 30, you need another 15. Like what's going on here? So yeah, like red flag if there's already a deal en route and they're trying to get more money for it. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad deal, but that's usually how these bad deal stories start for people like this gentleman, this lender that snuck in here way after the fact. That I'm basically going to have to tell them, you probably lost every penny of your money. I haven't seen the numbers yet, but I'm guessing just based on the story that so far I've heard, I'm probably going to have to break the news to this gentleman. You lost it all the day you wired that money in. So maybe you need to buy Renatus at this point.
Yep, exactly. So folks, do people a favor and enroll them in the program before they make these massive mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
They will love you forever. They will name their children after you.
Yeah, and I don't know this person. It's a friend of a friend, basically. And I don't know. Out of the goodness of my heart, I told him I'd look at it and give him some ideas. But cool. All right, we're 9:50, so we got to wrap it up.
Woo! What a banger of a Wealth Wednesday. Good job, everybody who showed up here. And remember to tell all your new students this is something that we don't skip. Put it in your calendars. Prioritize your competence. The markets don't care about your feelings. They don't care about your preferences. Okay, yes. It is all about your competence and your strategies. So stay educated, stay focused, stay plugged in with us, and we will see you for another episode of Wealth Wednesday next week. Thanks, Dane.
Goodbye, anybody going to corporate tomorrow? Thanks, I will see you there.
Oh yeah, make sure you go to corporate tomorrow for the mastermind and the epic.
Good luck with that.
Bye for now.
Stream it, please.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.